When I was younger, and I think some people might agree, I wanted to be David Attenborough for forever. Always wanted to be him. Loved watching him in nature documentaries. That's kind of what propelled me into the science world.
Behind our homes was this dirt field, and for us it was still somewhere to run and play, because in the neighborhood they built for us there weren't really fields, but there was like a little merry-go-round. But as kids you want to run. Our version of nature, I guess, was like even an urbanized nature, right on the cusp of Southeast and Ward 8.
My existence as a child was probably very much urban plus ocean. And I've been drawn to places that kind of had both.
We lived on the Long Island Sound, and water is something that's always been really important to me. So my mother and sister and I, we would take walks, and one of the things that she would say, family that walks together stays together.
We had a relationship with the land my entire life in a very daily, almost work-oriented way, and thinking about, what we can give it and what it can give back to us for like a well-lived life.
We've got lawyers and doctors and things like that in my family, so I kind of was like going against the grain, saying I wanted to do something with biology. My draw to the water, my draw to just environmental restoration, conservation, it actually came from 200 years before, just with family and stuff along the Eastern Shore, being watermen and in the packing houses and seafood houses. But it wasn't until, years later, I think I was like in my teens, when my mom really got invested into our genealogy as a family, and then she kind of realized that I was bringing the family back like full circle.
If people could understand and see themselves in this river from the perspective of not same struggle, but similar struggle of trauma, they could better understand. And also if they started to realize what a watershed was, and that it wasn't dirty because your neighborhoods are dirty, it's dirty because people in the upper side parts of the watershed aren't picking up their trash. This river was key to the development of Washington, D.C., and that story is not often included.
The Trust for Public Land rated us number 1 on its park score, and one of the metrics is what percentage of residents are within a 10-minute walk of a green space or a public park, and it's 98% of DC residents are within a 10-minute walk. You can't feel like it's not part of you. You can't feel like you have to go to a destination to experience what it means to be in nature. I think that's really wrong, and I think that's what has caused many of us to feel like we don't belong, or nature is not accessible to us.
Really thinking about different ways to meet people where they are in their relationship with green space. How do we use this space, this outdoor space, to help people cope and recover and heal from what we've all been going through the pandemic, especially the more vulnerable among us that have really been affected. Like, what can we do?
So that's kind of the premise of our wilderness programming. It was piloted towards the residents in Ward 7 and 8, so that they can get a feel for the park themselves and come out and explore it and realize that, hey, this is a space for me, for my mental health if I need that, just a space to escape and relax and get away from life. And I know that it's here and it's free and it's available, and I can use it and own it.
You don't have to be a certain kind of person to do this. Like, you could be anybody, and everybody should do it, because especially with aquaculture, like, this is what's impacting our food resource, our food security. So like, everybody should learn about it. And I think like the history part of it kind of makes it a little bit easier, because it's like, no, we're not new to this space. We're not trying to bring you into a space that's like not for us. Like, as you can see, it was for us, but now we're trying to bring everybody back.
Hello people, how are you doing? My name is Binder. I'm here to tell you, go out to your community, give back, help the environment.
My interest in working with the National Park Service was really grounded in helping communities to preserve their history. How do we build relationships with our park neighbors, park users, so that one, they feel welcome coming into these spaces that belong to them, and we're also taking the opportunity to help them understand why there are some things that you can't do in the parks, and that goes back to everybody being an environmentalist. So if we all understand what we have to do to care for these spaces, so that these spaces can be there for us, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to people and relationships.
It could not be superficial and surface and just like, we checked off the box, we we talked to the church, we're good. No, we had to like really, I went to a lot of funerals. I went to a lot of church dinners. I went to a lot of just neighborhood events and didn't even talk about what I wanted. I just sat with them to kind of, again, listen, but also, be present.
This is important. Like, this is an important space, and we need to figure out how to make the most of that.